Life speaks. It speaks through struggles and success, through music and messages, the preconceived and the unexpected. Whether you are in the depths of the valley or in the midst of your mountaintop experience, everyone needs to be encouraged from time to time. You've tuned in to ALH Broadcasting, and this is Andrea L. Hines, your host for When Life Speaks. I'm glad you accepted the invitation to connect with us as we share stories of strength, testimonies of triumph, observations, and information meant to touch the heart and uplift the soul. There's something in this broadcast just for you, and if it's a blessing to your life, it just may be for someone else as well. So tag, share, invite someone, then turn down the volume of life and get ready to receive, so that when life speaks, you speak life. Good evening, everyone. This is Andrea L. Hines, and I am your host for When Life Speaks. You're right here tuned into ALH Broadcasting, and we are very delighted to have you in the house with us this evening. This is definitely a program that you want to share with someone. We have a wonderful guest with us tonight. He has a story of strength that he is willing to share with us, and we are just excited that he's here and just want to hear what it is that he has to say. You know, we always say that everybody has a story, and it just depends on whether or not they choose to share it. And I'm glad that he is choosing to share his story right here on When Life Speaks this evening. But before we get started, just want to kind of bring you in and fill you in on what is going on. First of all, happy post-Thanksgiving to everybody. I hope you had a good holiday. Hope you were able to spend it with friends and family, and hope you didn't eat too much. You know, that's always a problem around these kinds of holidays. But if you did, I hope you're feeling better now, and hope you won't do that to yourself again, okay? But you know, we got another holiday coming up. Things are busy. People are getting ready for that. And let me tell you what else is going on here at When Life Speaks. Next week on the 12th, my favorite co-host, I shouldn't say that, but you all will know why I do. My daughter Lynn is going to be co-hosting with me, and we're going to finish a discussion that we started back in November. And that discussion was on good success. Good success. What is good success for you? What does it look like to you? How do you know when you have achieved it? So we're going to have that kind of conversation next week. And we're counting on the village to join us and to be a part of that. So if you want to, be sure that you contact me at speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com. That's speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com. And we will be sure to send you all of the information that you need to just let us know how you feel. We do this periodically, and we're always glad to be able to hear the impressions and perceptions of other people. You know, we can think one thing, but it is always good to know how someone else may be thinking about the same topic. So that's what's going on next week. The week after that, on the 19th, we will be back with Trillin Usry. We are going to be doing part 4 of Quiet on the Set. We've been following her filmmaking journey, and she's got some things to share with us, and we're interested to see how things are coming along with her. And then on the 26th, we are going to do our night of prayer. Haven't done one for a while. So I'm really, really happy that we are going to have the opportunity to do that program on that Thursday night. And this particular program is going to re-air on Saturday. at noon, at Saturday at noon. So if you didn't get to see it tonight, because I know people are busy out and about and shopping and doing all manner of things. So if you missed it tonight, you be sure to catch the replay on Saturday at noon. And I want to go on and get started right now because I tell you what, I'm going to give you a little bit of the bio of our guest because his bio is quite extensive, but it is going to give you an opportunity to help to welcome him in just a few minutes. So let me just put this up and tell you a little bit about our guest. Christopher Neal Bailey Sr. is a trailblazing entrepreneur, storyteller, and creative visionary who has dedicated his life to inspiring others through the power of film production. A proud graduate of Full Sail University with a BA in digital cinematography, Christopher's journey to success is rooted in resilience, faith, and an unrelenting commitment to his purpose. In January 2000, he founded B Creative Entertainment, LLC, which later evolved into B Creative Enterprises, LLC. His mission centers on telling stories that inspire triumph over adversity and empowering others to live out their dreams. Professionally, Christopher thrives as a screenwriter, actor, director, and producer, creating films, promotional videos, and music videos with a relentless focus on excellence. As the driving force behind Be Creative Enterprises LLC, Christopher emphasizes the value of collaboration, creativity, and servant leadership. His brand represents more than just a production company. I love this. More than just a production company, it's a movement that celebrates the universal gift of creativity. Through his work, he continues to redefine what it means to create, inspire, impact, and uplift others. So tonight, just help me welcome Christopher Neal Bailey. Hello, sir.
Hello, Ms. Andrea. Ms. Hines, how are you?
I'm doing well. I am doing well. You can call me Andrea. That's okay.
Andrea, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'll do it. I'll do it.
Thank you so much for taking time out to be with us, Christopher. I know you have a lot on your plate, a lot of projects going on, and
Yes,
I am just grateful that you were able to take some time out and be with us tonight and to share your story. I have worked with you on occasion, and I am always not only impressed with the work in terms of the content, but the way that you go about doing what you do to ensure that it really is at the top, that the excellence is there every time you bring something forward. So I'm just really happy that you are, able to be with us tonight. So
ma'am.
I just, there's so many things that we talk about when I got your bio and read your bio, and I thought, oh my goodness. So, I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. I don't know how you accomplish everything that you do, but
Yes,
and I don't want to, when we had our initial conversation and you were talking to me about this project that you have coming up in January that we're going to discuss a little bit later. One thing that we fail to bring to light, and I don't know why all the time, but everybody looks at the end of the road.
yeah,
Everybody looks at the final product. Everybody looks at, gee, you made it, so must have been easy, must have had it all together, resources had to be there, all those things. And sometimes that just couldn't be far from the truth.
not at all.
There are challenges, there are things that happen that put you in a place sometime of saying, you know what, maybe I got it wrong. Maybe this isn't where I should be at all. But I don't want to start in the middle or the end. I want to start at the beginning. And the beginning, most of the time, starts with mama.
Yes, yes.
so, so tell us about the impact that she had on where you are today and the
Wow.
things that she did.
Wow. So, first of all, thank you so very much, Andrea, for granting me this opportunity to be on your show. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. I was sitting, I was like, who are they talking about when you were reading that bio? Who is that? Um, so to talk about my mom, she is the reason why I'm doing what I do. I started acting, I guess, when I was like 5 years old. And it started basically because she realized that I could memorize stuff really, really well. And I used to have this little famous book that she would read every night before I go to bed. And so one particular day, she was in the kitchen and she told me the story that she was in the kitchen and she looked out and saw me on the couch and I had the book in my lap and I was reading. And so she was like, "Oh my God, my baby can read." And so she said, I came into the kitchen. I asked her, "Hey, mama, can you tell me what this word is?" And so she was like, it was a word that I should have known. She was like, "Well, sound it out." And so she said, I looked at her for a minute. I went back into the living room. I got back on the couch. She said, and I closed the book and I opened it up again. And then I started going through the pages and getting back to that same spot where I got stuck at. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, this boy done memorized this book." And so that's how it all started, where it was just me memorizing things. And so, of course, back then we went to church and we would have church plays and speeches and stuff like that. So my mom would always give me the long speech, the speech that was like 2 and 3 paragraphs long. I didn't get the one that was like one line, Happy Easter, thank you, whatever for coming out. I didn't get those speeches. She always gave me the one. And the Sunday school teachers would be like, "Are you sure, Miss Bailey, that he can memorize his line?" It's like, "Yeah, he got it. He got it." So that's kind of how it started. And then of course it grew from there, from church plays. Me and my brother, we was in every church play, every Easter play, Christmas play, you name it, we was in it. I think we played every character in the Bible. And that's kind of how it started. And then, of course, I knew that I loved acting. I just didn't know how much until I went to college and I was at the University of Louisville. And she pushed me into, joining the theater department. And that's kind of how things started right there from there. And so she has this saying, and I go by it every day because you talked about, how I, you know, desire to do things the right way. She has this saying, and she says it to this very day. And if she's listening and watching, I got to make sure I say it right because then she'll fuss at me if I don't. Uh,
That's mama.
right, that's mama. So she would say, if you're gonna do it right. And when you do it right, do it 100+% or don't do it at all.
Mm, mm.
So if anything that we ever did, whether it was in a play or even with me writing plays and doing things like this, she would always tell me, give it 100%, do it right, treat folk right, do it right, and do it 100+% or don't do it at all. And so that kind of that fed into, like, even with acting. So even when we would have roles, like, the kids at the church, they come to rehearsal, they do their line or whatever, they go on home, they whatever. We go home. All right, go get your script, bring it over here, because you didn't say that line right. And it was like back at rehearsal all over again. Like, mama, we just rehearsed for like 3 hours. But that was her mindset. She was like, either you're gonna do it right or you're not gonna do it at all.
Yeah, yeah. I know that I had that same experience. That's why I laughed when you did it, because my mother was the same way, um, and it wasn't so much that she was there to see that I got the longest part,
Right,
but she was very, very instrumental in um, enunciating. That's the way
hmm
she said. I mean, I was
hmm
3 years old, and I'm like, "What is this woman talking about?"
Yes, Lord.
But yeah, enunciating, say things
Enunciate your word.
clearly and distinctly. I can hear her in my ear now, so I know how important than influence is. You know, we may
Yes.
not see it at the time, but that influence carries us. And just like you said, she said it to you then, but it's something that you still live by at
Yeah.
this time. You know, tell me about Full Sail and
So
your
a friend of
experience
mine,
there.
a friend of mine, he he was one of the he was on like the advisory board at the time, and so we were just kind of having a conversation, and I was just kind of telling him about how I liked video and different things like that, and I was kind of dabbling in it at the time. I knew that it was something that I enjoyed doing. I've been on screen before. I'd been in a few little short films and feature films before, so I had the experience, but it was like I wanted to know a little bit more about being behind the camera. So he talked to me about it. And he was like, "You should apply." And I had looked at it before years ago, and this is where it comes into play where you'll start something before it's time for you to do it,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's like it wasn't time for me because I had looked at Full Sail before, and I was like, nah, that's not it. I'm not gonna do it. Plus, they didn't have an online program at the time, so
Mm-hmm.
this is kind of like on the heels of COVID type of a thing. And so being able to do the whole program online was amazing, right? And so he told me about it, and I said, "Well, let me think about it." And I was beginning to think about the price, how much it was going to cost, and he ended up helping me get a scholarship and get in where I didn't have to pay as much money. So the experience was amazing. You learn hands-on about how to handle your camera. They teach you the technical aspects of filmmaking and how certain shots look, lighting and things of that nature. You was talking to me earlier about lighting, right? And about
Right.
adjusting the lighting and making sure things look a certain kind of way. So those are certain things that we talked about and we, work with. So even when I'm filming and anything like that, I learn about certain things. I learn about shadows and how to eliminate shadows off the wall. If you ever seen, certain videos and movies and things where you see the shadow on the wall and it looks like that. Sometimes it's a little bit darker.
Right.
We're taught how to eliminate those, how to move those, how to create a background and an ambiance. And so it was definitely um, a great experience because I learned so much that I can apply to my everyday of trying to work in digital cinematography.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And welcome to you this evening. Welcome to you, Francina and Miss Bernice. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Linda Cooks is there. Angie Oliphant out of South Carolina. Thank you for being with us this evening. And go ahead and like and share because this is a good story. It is a good story of tenacity and triumph. That's the way I want to put that. But Christopher, we've talked about, just in this few minutes, the things
Mhm.
that influenced you. And those are good news things. But we all know that it's not all good news.
No.
And I want you to talk about some of those challenges, particularly with the dismissive director. And I'll tell you why that is so important to me when I hear
Mhm.
that part of your story. But also to just talk a little bit about those challenges because I can't. There are very few um, people that you will meet who achieve any level of success because what you think about success, and I think that's why we're talking about it next week, what you
Mhm.
think about in terms of success and what I think about are different.
Mhm.
Just doesn't always mean the same thing. The goal and the award may have the same name on it, but what it actually means to you and how you got there is different. So I want you to share tonight some of those challenges because there are times that you get to a point of saying, is it really worth it? Even if I make it, even if I get where I think it is that I want to go, is
Yeah.
it really going to be worth this? What the
Yeah.
cost that I'm going to have to pay for this? So, talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. when I first started at the University of Louisville, a lot of people they talk about you go after the big roles, right? Because I've had experience and I've acted before in church and different things like that. So when you get to college and you're learning different things of how to act, how to present yourself on stage, so you start to get a little bit of knowledge, and then you begin to go after these roles. Well, I had an opportunity to meet, I think her name is Hattie Winston. You might know her from a lot of the television shows that she was in. I think Beverly Hills Cop. I think Beverly Hills Cop 2, I believe. She was the woman that was married to the detective, and they were sitting in the limo when he got killed at the funeral.
Mm-hmm.
That's her. So she came to the University of Louisville, and she left me with uh, there's no small roles. There's no
Mm-hmm.
small part. You might get a small role and you may think, wow, like all I gotta do is this. And she said, you take that role and you be the best that you can be at that role. So that was at a time when I didn't get a lead role that I wanted. And I ended up getting frustrated about not getting that part. And I was like, well, I'm not even gonna do this. And so she had this workshop and she said, if you have to bring in a glass of water, you make that the best presentation you possibly
Right.
can to where
Yeah.
people will remember you. She said, and then not only that, she said it's a lot to do with how do you handle small beginnings. We think about scripture, right? If I give you this small role, are you just going to kind of do it, all right, and get it done, or are you going to take pride in this role that I've given you and be your best at it?
Mm-hmm.
That small role that I got led me into my first lead role as the Scarecrow in The Wiz. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of led that, and so then you have those kind of successes. But then, as you're having those successes, and you're being in the newspaper at the school, and you're being recognized, and all these different things. So now you go to audition for another show that's a little bit different, a little bit challenging, than what you would normally audition for. And this particular professor was very, very dismissive. I auditioned for the role, and instead of just telling me you didn't get it, um, we chose somebody else. He said to me that I sounded like I was a Jamaican wannabe British man trying
Whoa.
to deliver these lines.
Wow.
Yeah, and I didn't really know how to take that because I'm in school. This is like one of my professors. I'm like, so I didn't really know how to take that. And he was like, that's not the way the British sound. That's you sound too ethnic. And he was using these kind of words.
Mm.
So I walked out of that, theater, and I was ready to just kind of quit. I was like, I've never had a professor tell me nothing like that before. And I'm young, so I don't know how to process that. So I went to one of my other professors and talked to them about it, and they told me to dismiss it. Well, obviously they just told me to dismiss it, but then they put me in their next show. But the show was predominantly black, so you kind of had to deal with that. But then you had to deal with the idea of this is how certain people see me, and I didn't really understand how to process that when you have someone of the opposite race say very dismissive, racially charged things, and then you have to get up, go to class next morning. You have to see this professor. You have to engage this professor, knowing that he said these things to you and did not blink when he said them.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
you end up asking yourself the question: is this how theater really is? Because some of my other professors, you know, I had two black professors that were women. And so obviously we would have conversations about it, but there really wasn't anything that we could do.
I
We just had to take it.
those things are I had one experience similar to that. And those of you who are listening and viewing and hiding out in the background, we always have some folks hiding out in the background. If you have a question for Christopher, please be sure and put it in the comment section. But I had a similar experience, and it can really break you down to the point where you just don't know, if anything is possible, if it's really possible. But what I had someone tell me, I was going for an audition, and I said, how do they find the actors for this particular project?
Mm-hmm.
And they said, first you have to audition, uh, and you got to have the talent for it, and that would let you out. That would let you out. And I thought,
Mm.
you know nothing about me, you know nothing about my theater background, you have no clue whether I'm capable or not. And when I went on the audition and I came back, they wanted to know, uh, how did it go, and I was comfortable in the fact, like your mom had taught you about that spirit of excellence. And I
Mm-hmm.
said I couldn't have sung any harder. I couldn't have danced any better. I couldn't have spoken. So I was fine with what I had done. I didn't come away kicking myself about anything.
Right.
But the comment was, well, if they didn't have enough individuals of your color, perhaps you got a shot.
Wow. Wow.
Perhaps you got a shot. And I didn't understand at the time. Um, I don't know why it didn't. I really don't know why it didn't take me out.
Right.
To me, I think it is just a matter of knowing that when God has appointed you to do a thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
your response to those kinds of situations, your reactions to those kinds of situations, I believe that He will always put somebody in your path to
Yes.
counter, or an opportunity in your path to counter. Do you find that?
I do. I actually had that even when I started writing my own plays. Um, and I'm not going to name the restaurant, but it's a very familiar and famous restaurant. We was able to get a sponsorship with them, and they was willing to sponsor the play that I was doing at the time. And I put them on the playbill. I made sure they had tickets. Just took really good care of them, right? And so I showed them the script. We walked through the script together, told them everything that was going to happen in the script, so they no surprises, right? So there's a story in one of the plays that I did where it was a true story where this gentleman that I went to church with, he told me about a slave story that happened to his family,
Mm,
whereas one of his members was caught. They poured tar on him. They threw feathers on him.
mm.
Then they set him on fire.
Whoa.
Right. So I asked him, I said, hey, man, I said, listen, I said, do you mind if I use this story as a part of my script to kind of tell this story? He's like, absolutely, go ahead. So I put it in my play. The gentleman that is the owner of the restaurant knew. So we go and we present the stage play. And so I have a phone call with him, like a debrief after the play, so to find out, hey, listen, because the thing was he was going to sponsor this one, then he would look at sponsoring more of our shows after the fact. And
Hmm.
so he was like, in our meeting, he said, I really can't believe that you showed this play. Now I'm shocked. I'm like, what do you mean? And of course, unfortunately, he is of another skin hue, and he was like, well, I came to this play and I bought some friends of his. So I'm assuming it was another husband and wife, team that came with him that day. And he was like, and then that scene that you talked about, where it was that one scene, I just can't believe that you would tell that kind of a story. And you know what? Moving forward, I'm not going to fund any more of your projects
Well,
because I don't want to do nothing like that. And shocked because I'm like, I don't understand what you mean. I said, I showed you the script. We talked about it. He said, well, after the play, me and my friends, we went out for ice cream. No lie. He said, we went out for ice cream after the fact. And first thing they asked me was, why would you support and fund a show like that? And I was like, I didn't really know how to process that. And he was like, so, moving forward, we're not going to fund any more of your projects, da 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 da. And I was like, okay, well, listen, I'm sorry you feel that way. I said, but this was a true story. I said, this actually happened to someone that I know, and he allowed me to use his story in the play. He said, okay, that's fine, but yeah, we're not going to support any more of your projects moving forward. And this is where that hurt because it came from outside, from an outside
mm-hmm,
source. When I
mm-hmm,
get off the phone, I have a conversation with a family member and I'm telling them, about what happened. And they told me, well, sometimes you have to do what they want you to do until you get to a place to do what you want to do. And I said, now I was saying to my family member, I said, so you mean I have to kowtow and do what somebody wants me to do, even though I don't want to do it, I don't believe in it, in order to get something done and then do what I want to do later? Well, yeah, that's how it works. I said, no, that's not what I'm doing. I said, I'm not doing that. I said, because that's freedom of speech. You're gonna tell me I have to say something a certain kind of way because you don't like it, because it's not comfortable for you. I said, no, I'm not doing that. And so we had a look back and forth, and I was hurt because I really looked up to this person within my family. Like, why would you tell me that, you of all people? And so that hurt, and it really made me feel like at this point I really didn't want to do plays anymore, because I had spent so much money, and this event was huge for me. And to get that kind of a response, we didn't get the ticket sales that we wanted. That's not the first time that happened. That happened quite a few times where ticket sales just didn't work. And I was almost like I was done. I said, why continue to do this? And then I remember hearing stories like story that Tyler Perry's story, and I heard other people's stories, and Sylvester Stallone, I heard about his story, and I was like,
mm-hmm,
okay. I said, maybe this is just part of my story, and maybe I just need to embrace it, because I can't give it up, because I love it too much, and it's
mm-hmm,
something I can do it in my sleep. Like I could write in my sleep. I breathe acting. I just love it. And so I was like, well, maybe I just need to give it another shot. And so I didn't quit. And then that's when Be Creative became born. And then I started doing other productions and whatnot. But oh yeah, there are some definite failures, but either you can learn from your failures and grow beyond them, or you can let your failures define you and not
right,
move forward.
right, right. And you, as we can tell and as we can see, have chosen to let those failures fuel your passion as opposed to having it be the other way around. Which
Absolutely.
brings us to what's happening in January. So
Yes.
tell everybody what's going on in January.
Wow. So January the 11th is the private event screening of our first feature film. It's called the movie is called Let It Play. It's a story that started from a 6-page script while I
Oh,
was in school at Full Sail University. So we are truly excited. This will be the event screening. After we do the event screening, then we're looking at doing film festivals, and then after that, distribution.
but you can't stop right
When-
there.
that, that's just this project. I already have another one in pre-production. So yeah, so that's just this one. Once we get this one in into its own little lane, then we back at square one again.
Christopher, can you tell us just a little bit about the story itself?
Sure. So the story deals with how to process trauma, basically how men process trauma. A lot of
Okay.
times we see stories where things happen, and women, we see them make their transformation, right? They go through the traumatic experience, and then we see them kind of navigate that space, and then we see them on the other side of that trauma where they're kind of doing things, you know,
Mhm,
succeeding, right? Well,
mhm,
this one is really just kind of validating that men have these same kind of journeys, and they have these same kind of choices, and their feelings are just as valid. And we need to acknowledge that men have these kind of experiences. They have these emotional breakdowns. They have these emotional uh, traumas and experiences that they have to work through or decide to work through. And then they also have successes on the other side of it. So, but you just see how one man goes through these experiences, and it's a collection of other individuals that go through similar experiences. So it's a kind of a combination of people going through their experiences and figuring out how they're going to navigate life. You can either let life play on and adjust and move with it, or get stuck with it and stay where you are.
mm, mm.
Life
Okay,
is going life is going to play on regardless.
that's right. That is right. That's right. And that's going to be on January the 11th, right
Yes,
here in
January the
this
11th.
area. We
And
congratulate you on that in advance.
thank you
Uh,
so very much.
I want to
Yes.
ask you one other question.
Sure.
When you have had the experiences like you have, and rejection and disappointment comes in many forms, in many ways, and from many places. Sometimes you expect it, and sometimes you don't. Like you were saying with a family member that you would have expected to support you, not supporting you, and then having the dismissive director, which, although you didn't like it, wasn't necessarily difficult to understand because of the source and where it's coming from. Do those things make you more sensitive when you are dealing with actors, um,
Yes.
knowing and understanding their, I don't even know how to put it, because you cannot be thin skinned. You got to be tough, and you got to have a handle on your feelings and all that. But does it make you more cognizant of how you deal with good news that's not so good?
Yes. It does. And my mom has this saying, you just treat people right.
Mm.
And she said, do right even if they don't do right by you. It's not what they do to you, it's what you do to them. And so
Okay. Yeah.
for
Yeah.
for,
I get it.
for me, um we know that people are gonna do things to you, but it's not really about what they do to you, it's about how you respond, and if you do something back to them. So in other words, you know will I treat you the way that you had just treated me? Now, I don't mean I'm gonna let you walk all over me, but it doesn't mean I'm gonna treat you negatively. And so my mom has that, she tells us that all the time, right? When I'm working with actors, um, I was told by my professor that I'm a actor's director. There's what they call a technical director, where they're just all about the technicalities of things. Then there's the actor director, who's really about the well-being and the presentation of the actors, both on set and offset. I care about people, and if you are a part of a show that I'm in, or a show that I'm doing, we family, because we're going to be around each other for the length of the project. So not that I'm going to be all in your business, but I care about you. I care about your well-being. So I've had some actors, even with this project, they would call me and we would be talking about the script, but then I'd ask them the question, how are you? you know, how are
Right.
you? What's going on with you? And then we'll have those conversations and dialogue, because at the end of the day, sometimes the set is a place for especially actors to escape, because
Yeah.
you get a chance to
So
escape
true.
your reality, and you
Right.
enter into the reality of this character, and then you live in this character, and then you have to step out of this character now and go back to your own reality. Well, if your reality is he double hockey sticks,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
then you're not really wanting to come out of that. You kind of want to carry that with you. And so I care about my actors. I really want to know how they're doing, because if you're doing good outside, then you're going to do good inside when you're on set. But if you're not good outside, when you come on set, I'm going to have to battle through your feelings, your emotions, what you're dealing with, why you're not saying your line a certain kind of way. And if I deal with it from a surface perspective, I'm going to be looking at you like, yo, get the line right. What's the problem?
Yes.
Versus
Absolutely.
knowing, oh, you know what? I remember I even I've had actors. I tell them, I said, listen, I said, do you need a minute, or how about we just not do this scene today? We'll do something else. Me and you will talk later. You got to. I mean, you have to. And my goal is to create a space, with my production company, where people can come and do what they love and enjoy it, and then have something that they can come back and say, you know what, I was a part of, and I did, and it was an amazing experience. Because at the end of the day, you might learn something that you probably didn't even know you needed. I've had actors before. One actress in particular, this was back when I was at home in Kentucky. She was going through an abusive marriage at home, and her only reprieve was when she would come to rehearsal. And so
Wow.
we would have, like, before we would, get into our rehearsals, we would pray and everything like that before we got into our rehearsal. And it was the Holy Spirit, because he was really kind of navigating those prayers. And after the fact, she would go home and she would just start praying. And the name of the play that we did at that time was called Don't Give Up on Jesus. That was the name of the play.
Hmm.
And she said, this play saved my life, saved my marriage,
Wow.
because I would go home, I would be rehearsing, and then I'd be looking at the script and I'd be doing different things. And my husband would see it, and then it started to change because of their interaction with the play. I didn't know that. I'm just a director praying for people, taking, just doing whatever I'm supposed to do, right? And she comes back and tells me, yeah, this play saved my marriage and saved our lives.
Wow.
I was like, wow. We
Wow.
had another young man who he was a part of a foster home, and so the one of the managers was in the play, and I guess the young man asked if he could be in the play with him. And so he came to me one day. And he was like, "Hey, I got a student that would love if you had a role for him, if he could be in it." I said, "Sure, bring him on." So he came, and I still have the card to this very day. And he sent me a card. He was like, my relationship with Christ was stronger because I was a part of this project. Thank you
Wow.
so much for allowing me to be a part of this. And I'm like, man, it wasn't even me. This was God's gift, and just like Chris directed, you know what I mean? And so I'm like, man, it yeah. So when I have actors like that, my job, I feel like when they say yes to a role, it's my job at that point to not only direct them in the film, but to be sure that I care for them, because God entrusted them to me to direct them in this project. And my
Right.
job is not to mistreat them, but to make sure that I take care of them no matter what,
Right.
while they're
That
in.
is good. That is so good, Christopher. So, so good. And I really hope that people are catching on to the fact that it is not just that end result that you see. There's so much more that goes on behind the scenes, and not just technically for the project, but just in terms of life's journey that people have to navigate.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, so much. Thank you so much for being here tonight and for sharing with
sure.
us. And I want to ask you if you can think of um, one thing,
Hmm.
just one thing, because we talked a lot about afterthoughts, aftermath,
Aftermath. Yeah.
after the divorce and after the, disappointment, and after there's no money, and after all these things that happen
Yeah.
that are just life oriented, just the way things are. How do you, or what would your suggestion be in navigating life to push past the pain of those things and continue to pursue your passion?
Wow. Um, wow. One thing. Well, I will say this, and I don't want to be like super spiritual, nothing like that, right? But I will say this: prayer is the number one key to it all, right? And then you have to be in love with what you do.
Yeah,
You have to be, and so if I could just do it like a one and a one B, it's prayer, and then it's being in love with what you do and knowing why you do it.
knowing why
Because
you.
if you understand your why and why you got started, why this thing even began to stir in you, you will never give up on it. And I have this project that I do sometime with actors called the Why Project. Um, and we talk about it with our characters sometimes. Why is this character this way? Because anybody can play mad. I can play mad on this Zoom right now, and you think I'm really mad at you. That's not acting. That's just playing mad. When you become mad, you become the actor, so you understand why is he mad? What makes him mad? All the whys, right? So if that's what actors use to develop their characters, we need to use that same purpose. We need to purpose that for our lives. Why am I doing what I am doing?
Good.
And am I in love with it? And if I know why I'm doing it, if I'm in love with it, then I can pray and ask God for guidance and direction as to how to pursue it.
There you go. That is wonderful. That is wonderful. Okay, we have. I'm not going to say we're running out of time. We have run out of time. But I wanted I always want to ask if people wanted to get in touch with you, how could they do that? And
Yes.
the part two of that is when you are getting ready for a project and you're looking for actors and all of these kinds of things, where do people find that information? Is it something that you just put out there doing casting call for this, that, or the other, or tell us a little bit about that, how
Sure.
that works?
Most of the information is on our social media platforms, Instagram and Facebook. So for Facebook, it's Christopher underscore Neil underscore Bailey. I think it's senior. But if you look up Christopher Bailey on Facebook, that's typically where a lot of the information is on, and also our Instagram, which is be creative. It's the letter B, the word creative, underscore ENT. That's on Instagram. And so most of our posts will be on a Facebook post or Instagram post, and then with our Facebook, I'll do a video or something along those lines and make announcements like
Awesome. 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 Now I'm getting ready to put something up here, folks, and it's
that.
something that everybody should be familiar with, and that is how to get in touch with us here at ALH Broadcasting. So let me put it here: speak life with Andrea at gmail.com. Now, if you all do not have that written down somewhere, shame on you. No, I'm just kidding. But be sure to write it down now: speak life with Andrea at gmail.com. I hope you all have it,
Yeah,
because
get it
at
down.
9 p.m., at 9 p.m. this evening, 9 p.m. this evening, set your clock, set your watch, do whatever you got to do. But at 9 p.m. this evening, the first person who contacts me at speaklifewithandrea@gmail.com will be the recipient of 2 complimentary tickets to see Christopher's play on the 11th of January. Now, don't send it now. Send it now.
9 o'clock.
It's got to be 9 p.m. Okay. All right. So you all shared. If you know somebody else who loves plays, who loves theater, who loves to see a good story and would like to support, and you think you can't be available at 9 and want to give that information to them, feel free to go ahead and do that. We will contact them and be sure that they get all of the information that they need in order to participate and go to see Let It Play on January 11th. That is it. That is it for us for tonight. Christopher, thank you so much. Thank you
Yes.
for being here. You know how much I love your work. And we just wish you the best. You got a lot of
Thank
people
you.
just saying congratulations to you. And I tell you what, we look forward to great things continuing to happen. Okay.
Thank
And
you
when
so
they
much.
do, when don't forget to come back and tell us all about it. Okay.
No,
We're
ma'am.
gonna
I will be. I will definitely be.
All right. That's it. And that's it for us this evening. Again, thank you all for being here. You know where to be on Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Be right here on When Life Speaks on ALH Broadcasting. Turn down the volume of life and be ready to receive, so that when life speaks, you'll speak life. Good night, everybody. Good night,
Good
Christopher. Thank you again.